Greeting esteemed people of the internet, Mike here, and it is a lovely sunny day at my local, and I'm here with 3 of the new Freewings. Now, we're going to start the session by warming up with the Freewing Life, which is new this year. Then we're going to try the new Wing V5, the Air V5, which I've heard a lot about, and we're going to finish off with the Air V5 Team, which is they're all singing, all dancing, super new material wing. We're going to see how these wings sort of stack up against what Freewing have been doing for the last couple of years. They've had some hits, they've had some misses, and let's hoping that 2025 brings them a newfound reverence, because to be honest, I've heard a lot of good things about this new stuff. So let's get into it, give them a damn good thrashing and see where we go. Right, we're in, and that was interesting, just about every season of the year in one session there. But I think I've fallen in love. That was very interesting. So I'm going to let Dry Mike tell you about that, because Wet Mike's taken a bit of a beating and he's going home for a cup of tea and a biscuit. Right. Let's go through these wings. Now, I test in 4.5, which is a really nice all-round size. It enables you to get a feel of what they're like in the smaller and the bigger sizes, and that really for me is the one size of wing that really covers all the bases. It gets going pretty early, you can use it in light winds. Similarly, squalls, you know, it'll take a lot. And this particular day that I'm showing you the footage from here was exceptionally weird. Here there's footage of me not being able to get my 55-litre phaser even to the surface of the water with even a chance of getting started, and yet here is dust being blown off the docklands in what gusts of what the anemometer weather station showed me as 50 knots. So it was one of those weird days, and to say that I didn't really experience the whole wind range of these things on every single wing that I tried, because it was just doing this all day, is quite remarkable, really. I've never had a day like it, but testament to the sport that you can actually, actually survive in these conditions. But yeah, the wings were a part of that as well. Now, these 3 wings, 3 different price points. You've got an entry price point, a medium price point, and then an upper price point. The wings all feel quite similar. You can see the same design ethos in them, and it's always been a problem with winging, or certainly with the free wings, that in order to get power you had to sacrifice canopy tension and glide. They've always sort of gone backwards and forwards with this balance, trying to get the two to marry up to give you the biggest wind range in something that flags and is very efficient in terms of penetrating through the air. And I think they've hit a magic formula on it. Now let's start with the Freewing Life. The Freewing Life replaces what was the Freewing Go, which was their entry budget wing. Now, the factory that they made the Go in is gone. They're not using it anymore, and this is out of their premium mainstream factory, and you can tell the build quality on it is exceptional. It's every bit as good as every other Freewing, whereas the Go was always a bit of an outlier. Gone is the sort of unpredictable handling, especially in the big sizes, and the center of effort that moves around a lot, replaced by what is a geometrically completely different proposition altogether. First of all the free wings, apart from the really expensive one, use a gradiated weight in the Dacron of the leading edge. So this white section here is actually quite thick, quite strong, and the outside section is much lighter. And that enables you to run a much higher leading edge pressure than you would normally do. But that really only tells you half the story of why these wings are so much better, in that the true shining light of these things, I believe, the reason that they're so good is because they've figured out the shaping. The front tubes on them are quite large, they're quite big around this leading edge here, and they don't look as performant as they feel. You kind of think that they're going to be like bricks, but the fact is that this Life produces a lot of low-end power, but when you're up, it's very, very efficient. The center of effort is very locked, and the efficiency of it is very high. Now, that's really a magic triangle and something that's eluded them thus far. The other thing that I would say is that a lot of wings produce sideways pull, which you then convert through your body into forwards drive. These things produce a lot of forward drive. You don't really feel a lot of pressure on your arms, and that is another defining characteristic of why these three wings are so much better than everything else. You'll see there's a boom here. Now, this is an alloy boom on the Freewing Life, and it's asymmetric so that it's got a slight taper on here. And they also call it a pistol grip, which allows you to hold it away from you like that, in that position. It's not really a winging position that I ever use. I just graduate straight to the handle. Also, you'll see that the boom is thinner at the back. You know, the distance between the strut and the boom is greater at the front than it is at the back. And that sort of sets your stance when you're riding, so one of your arms isn't buckled and the other one's straight. It's a very comfortable place to be. The other thing that I would say is that the boom itself, now I started with handles, I always champion handles, then they brought out two solid handles. I was like, oh. So apart from the damage that it gave to my board from getting on sinker boards all the time, I kind of got used to it, and I was neither for nor against them. But when the boom came out, I thought, this is getting a bit kookish, really. It's not my thing. I'm not really down with this. But when I started using it, I'm turning into a bit of a fan, specifically because, for one, they don't damage your board when you're doing sink starts. But the other thing is, no matter what the wind is doing or what's going on, you can move that hand around forwards and backwards to spread your stance or move it fore or aft, and you never change the position of your wrist on the boom. And that is a really comfortable thing to have. I am converted to the boom. So that gets my vote of approval, that one. Now, the Freewing Life, aside running the same leading edge material that I see on the Air V5, the main difference is slightly on the cut. It seems a bit more grunty at the bottom end, and it has a normal canopy on it, normal ripstop canopy, which seems a lot more durable than kite material. You'll have to go and check the official website for the actual specs of it, but it is not the most expensive of canopies. That said, in the hands, wound up from 0 to 100 miles an hour, it coped with the wind really, really well. And for expert riders in the small sizes, don't shy away from them. They're a really, really good budget solution in 4.5 and down over. And if you're a beginner, loads and loads of low-end grunt to get you up and running. Right, enough on the Freewing Life. Let's move on to the next one, which is the Freewing Air V5. Now, this is the mainstream wing. This is the one that's sold the most of, simply because it's just a lovely price point. Main difference between this and the Life, to me, when I'm riding, is the forward speed. It's definitely got a little bit more efficiency. I'm not sure whether that comes from the canopy or the cut, but it's definitely a little bit lighter in the hand, a little bit more cadence and response and stiffness to the pump. So you get them both going at around the same kind of time, but this one definitely feels a little bit quicker and more efficient, and certainly sort of punches through the wind in tacks and flags out a bit better. But the most important thing for me is that when the gusts come through, the center of effort doesn't shift so much. So the center of effort seems locked. Boom on these is also carbon, so it's a much thinner boom, again asymmetric, and it's a really comfortable place to be. You know, you can hold it forward or aft, you really spread your stance around, it's got that lovely grip, and many tacks I've found myself just pushing myself forward like that, and it's incredible how much glide you can get through the eye of the wind and through onto your other side. Again, flagging out, there's no sort of shaking or thing. The canopy is completely taut. But unlike the Freewings of old, this thing has range and it has pumpability, and not that kind of pumpability that they told you had to change your pumping technique. Oh, it goes just as early, you just have to change your pumping technique. Well, I'm sorry, but that's rubbish. It either goes early or it doesn't go early. Whether you're good at pumping or not is irrelevant, you know? It is what it is. And this thing, it's got wind range. It goes really early. It's got a ton of top end stability. It has a lot of comfort, a lot of forwards drive. You don't feel yourself pulling through the arms all the time, and you know, tacking on it and everything. It's just an exemplary wing, one of the finest that they've made, if not the finest, and it deserves praise. It really does. Well done. If this kind of stuff is going to be the future, I'm all in, because that is a good piece of kit. Right, moving on to the last wing. Now this thing is this is the wing that really blew my mind. First of all, the weight of the thing. The first time I picked it up, I was aghast at how light the thing was. Think back to the Nitro and then take weight off that. It is crazy light. I mean, it even flies there on its own. It's just unreal. The materials on this, I believe it's the same canopy as used on the Freewing Air V5, but the leading edge material is the Hookkeeper. Now, Hookkeeper's an aramid cloth, and it is unbelievably strong, proven. Some of the old wings that I had, I ran for 2 or 3 years at 11 psi, and apart from a little pulling where the stitches go through the weave, never once have I had a failure. In fact, to my knowledge, I don't really know of any of this Hookkeeper stuff that's actually failed. It's beyond strong. Perhaps not as stiff as the Alula with the film on, but it's immune from UV damage because of that. And also, all of these wings, they say that if you want a bit more bottom end on it, don't inflate them so hard, because it allows them to flex, and the flex puts a bit more camber into the aerofoil, and that gets you going a bit earlier. So flex is not necessarily your enemy in winging. It is when it gets really, really windy, but we'll come to that in a minute. Right, the main thing that just blew my mind on this this Air team, Freewing Air V5 team, is the center of effort. It never shifts. 50 knot gusts, didn't move my hands. 10 knots, struggling to get going, center of effort's the same place. It is the most predictable, uniform power source you could possibly have on a hydrofoil. Not even a foil drive could beat this thing. It's remarkable. And what does that mean? It means that when you're flat out on the limit, or you're charging around at full steam, your pitch control can stay exactly as it was. Your stance can shrink. Trust in the overall system goes through the roof, all because the wing delivers the exact amount of power that you want from the exact same position the whole time, right the way through the wind range. And it's a unique thing I've never experienced before. The other thing that really blew my mind about this wing is, and I'll quantify this by the response that I got from one of the guys that took one of these first wings from me when they first came in the country. He's got really bad elbows, really bad tennis elbow. And he said to me, it's weird, but I don't use my harness anymore, because previously he'd had to use his harness because if he didn't, his elbows would catch fire. And he said, I'm fine, I'm not using the harness. And I don't understand why. My elbows aren't screaming at me. And I know exactly why it is. It's because all of the power that it generates is forward motion. All of the energy is pointing in that direction. None of it's pointing that way. The center of effort is so far forward on it, and it never shifts. So as you're holding it like this, the energy is driving you forwards, it's not driving you sideways, which then you have to shove into the board to make it go forwards. It's unique. I've not had it before, and it makes the thing absolutely effortless to ride for hour after hour. It is fantastic. The old Freewing Air teams didn't really shine when they were flagged out, and when you were maneuvering them, they had a tendency to sort of pitch one way or the other, and they always just felt like they weren't fighting against you, but they certainly weren't making they weren't fixing your mistakes for you. Let's say that. This thing does. This thing feels like it's a step ahead of you, fixing the stuff that you're going to muck up before you muck it up. It is really exceptional. Flagging it out, you know, you can just drag the thing around for days. It's very, very little drag in terms of pulling your board speed down. And tacking is glorious. You can just boon into tacks and you can just stand there. And the first time in, you know, I've windsurfed for years, and the thought of going through the eye of the wind against the laws of physics for this amount of time just feels like you're sticking two fingers up at nature. Take that, physics. It's just extraordinary, and it comes out the other side. You can just snatch it a few pumps and you're gone. It's a beautiful thing. Now, I know there's a lot of discussion about waist leashes and wrist leashes, and that's a perfectly personal thing to agree or disagree with. I hate these things. I think, well, the number of times I've ended up like this is beyond a joke. Maybe that's my technique, maybe I'm not putting the leash in the right place, because to be honest, I use wrist leashes all the time, so I'm going to swap all these off and put wrist leashes back on again. But that's a purely personal thing. It is long as well, but you know, I don't know waist leashes. You guys will probably know more than me. But that is my only grumble on what is an outstanding piece of engineering. So if you get a chance to try these things, do. I warn you, if you do, you may not be able to walk away from one, because it is sensational. So come on, Freewing. We know you're capable of greatness. Don't let us down. This is the benchmark. Stop messing around and let's make the future what we know it's capable of being. So there you have it. That's 3 wings from this year that, to be honest, every single one of them is exceptional. I would love to see more of this in the future, Freewing. Please, it is a joy to use this stuff, groundbreaking, and it massively adds to my love of the sport. So no more messing around. If you get a chance to try one of these, please take one. I warn you, you may not want to give it back, but that's the risk you take. And I hope this has been of use. If you have any specific questions, please do leave them below. And as always, I will do my best to answer.